I gave my daughter a $1 million condo, but she sold it all to scatter money across her boyfriend's family, Christmas parties, matching family uniforms, love-offering envelopes for the church, and endless Cash App transfers. Then I received a video. My daughter, the princess I raised in silk, on her knees, scrubbing a toilet in a rotting wooden house. From that moment, I swore, whoever dared turn my child into a tool, a servant, an ATM, would pay an unimaginable price. Before we go on, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and leave your thoughts in the comments, because what's about to unfold will give you goosebumps. It was right at Christmas, a time when most American families gather around golden roast turkeys and the sweet aroma of pumpkin pies, that my phone buzzed with a video message. The sender, none other than my daughter's boyfriend. In that short clip, my only child, the girl I had cradled like a princess since birth, was kneeling on the damp bathroom floor of his family's decrepit wooden house. She wore green rubber gloves, bent over, pouring and scrubbing out a portable commode for their bedridden great-grandmother, whom they affectionately called Big Mama. The stench of bleach and disinfectant filled the air. Dirty water splattered across cracked tiles, while my daughter hunched like an unpaid nursing aide, struggling in silence. The moment the video ended, my phone rang. His voice came through, arrogant beyond belief. "Ma'am, your daughter is quick. She works better than a home health aide. Oh, and about that $1 million condo money, we already spent it. Thanksgiving dinners for the whole family, love offerings to the church, matching uniforms for the relatives, endless Cash Apps to aunts and uncles. Now, just send another $200,000. If not, no problem. Alicia can stay here forever, taking care of Big Mama." My hand clenched the edge of the table so tightly it trembled. Heat surged to my face, veins pounding as though ready to burst. My husband had to call a doctor to check my blood pressure, fearing the shock might strike me down. Tears blurred my vision, and through choked sobs I whispered, "This daughter of mine, blinded by love, is ruined. We might be better off raising another from the start than saving her now." My hand was still trembling so badly I could barely press the numbers as I called Alicia back. The phone rang twice, then she hung up. Seconds later, an iMessage appeared on the screen. Short, cold. "Mom, stop making a scene. I'm busy. Jamal only wants what's best for us. Don't call him again. It will upset him." I turned to Marcus, my husband, sitting beside me. His face had darkened like a storm cloud. I broke down, sobbing bitterly. "Look at her. The daughter we poured our entire lives into raising has become this. We gave her too much comfort, and now the moment someone whispers sweet words, she dives straight into the mud." Marcus slammed his palm against the table. The thundering sound jolted my heart. "Ungrateful child," he roared. "We had built our entire life from nothing, half a lifetime of toil, only to focus everything on one daughter. From childhood, Alicia was treated like royalty. Summer trips to Disney, designer clothes, an elite private school in New Jersey. We never let her lack a thing. We naively believed that a child raised in love and abundance would grow grateful, would treasure what she had. But that was our greatest mistake. Overindulgence had turned into a double-edged sword. She never learned independence. She only learned to drown in fantasies of love. The moment she entered college, we feared she might struggle. So we bought her a condo right next to campus, fully furnished. The plan was simple. She would live on one floor, rent the other, and use the rent money to cover her expenses. It was supposed to be a perfect preparation. But that was when Jamal entered her life. A young man who had nothing beyond a cool image, a half-finished education, a modest background, a questionable character. Yet Alicia believed his words. "I may be poor, but I have ambition. I will succeed." I shuddered. It was the same delusional dream of countless boys from the rough neighborhoods, becoming a famous rapper. But Alicia believed him. Not only believed, she poured every cent of her allowance into him. Then she gave him the rental money too. She called it an investment in his rap career. We advised her. We scolded her. We even cut off her allowance. But the more we forbade, the more she hid. And then, she sold the $1 million condo we had signed over to her. She justified it. This is Jamal's startup capital. I'm helping him take care of his family. But the truth? Every dollar vanished into rowdy Christmas parties, matching uniforms for his entire clan, and thick love-offering envelopes at the church. And my daughter? From a princess in a castle, she had been reduced to an unpaid maid, hands calloused, scrubbing, serving, and obeying. I sat there, heart crushed as though in a vice. Everything we had done for her, only to receive back a daughter blinded by love, willing to kneel and sacrifice everything for a man worth nothing. That Christmas season, Alicia told us that Jamal wanted her to spend the holiday with his family as a way of, officially, introducing her to his parents. We objected furiously, but she was stubborn, warning us that if we tried to stop her, she would cut ties with us completely. On Christmas Eve, while American families everywhere were gathered around glowing trees, laughter spilling across tables heavy with food, our home was silent. Just Marcus and me, staring at a cold dinner table, no warmth left between us. Then I saw it. A Facebook photo. My heart clenched like a fist. Alicia sat beside Jamal, surrounded by his entire clan. She was smiling brightly, as if she had found her new family. The next morning, my phone rang. Jamal again. This time, a different trick. He sent another video. In it, Alicia was squatting in the backyard, her hands plunged into an icy basin, scrubbing a mountain of laundry. Children's laughter rang around her, careless and loud. My daughter's hands were red and trembling from the cold, yet she forced a smile to please them. Beneath the clip, Jamal had typed a mocking line. "Ma'am, city girls are weak. Just a few loads of laundry and her hands are already cracked. How's that $200,000 coming along? My mama says if there's no money, Alicia will be doing all the housework from now on." I watched the video over and over, those raw red hands tearing my heart apart. Each breath caught painfully in my chest. I immediately called Alicia. The phone rang for a long time before she answered. Behind her voice, I could hear hip-hop music, rowdy laughter from Jamal's relatives. "Mom?" Alicia's voice sounded tired, impatient. I nearly shouted into the phone. "Alicia, come home right now." But she snapped back, irritated. "Come home for what? I'm fine here. His parents treat me better than my own." I let out a bitter laugh, nearly choking on my rage. Better? Better means dunking your hands in freezing water to wash their laundry in winter? Better means waiting on a bedridden great-grandmother? That's what you call better? For a moment, there was silence. Then Alicia's voice rose, trembling but defiant. "I chose this. I love Jamal, and I'm willing to do anything for him. Stop trying to control me with your outdated ways." I went silent. "This is because I care for you." I tried to steady my tone. "Care for me?" she shouted. "You mean locking me in a luxury condo, treating me like a caged bird? Jamal told me you look down on him, on his family from the working-class neighborhood. That's why you keep trying to tear us apart." Each word cut me like a blade. I laughed coldly, bitterly. "So when he told you to demand $200,000 from me, was that also because he cares for you?" My daughter fell silent. Only the pounding of my heart filled my ears, mixed with the chaotic noise behind her. In that moment, I realized Alicia was sinking into a world with no escape. Alicia's words echoed in my head. "I love Jamal. I'm willing to do anything for him." I clenched my teeth, wanting to scream at her. But deep down, I knew if I pushed too hard, the one who would suffer most would still be my daughter. I took a deep breath, forcing my voice into calm. "Alicia, listen to me. Whatever amount of money you want, I can arrange, but I need to see you in person, safe and alive. I will not send a single dollar unless I meet you first." I hung up, my hand trembling violently. Marcus came over, wrapping his arms tightly around me from behind. His voice was hoarse. "Deborah, don't torment yourself anymore. When she comes back, we'll raise her again from the beginning." I leaned against his chest, tears streaming. "Marcus, did I spoil her so much that she's broken beyond repair?" He gripped my shoulders firmly, his voice steady as steel. "No, you are not to blame. She chose the wrong path, and if she insists on staying there, then we have no choice but to block that path." I nodded slowly, forcing myself to regain composure. A face-to-face confrontation with Jamal was now inevitable. That night, I sent him a message. $200,000 is not a small sum. I need time to prepare. But I must see Alicia with my own eyes, confirm she is safe. Only then can we discuss further. Less than a minute later, his reply came back. A single word: bet. I stared at the glowing screen, my lips curling into a cold smile. A man who lives on blackmail will never refuse a big bite of meat. And hidden inside that one word, bet, I saw my chance to turn the game around. The next morning, I booked a flight straight to Georgia, the state where Jamal was born and raised. Marcus wanted to come with me, but I gripped his shoulders firmly. "If you go and lose your temper, things will only get worse. Stay here, be my anchor." When the plane landed, I boarded a Greyhound bus, then transferred into an old pickup truck to reach the rundown neighborhood on the city's edge. The moment I stepped off, the smell of greasy fry oil, cheap cigarette smoke, and rotting garbage from plastic bins hit me full force. The streets were littered with beer cans, stray dogs sprawled weakly across the pavement. Barefoot children chased a deflated ball, laughing in the dust. Following the address Jamal had sent, I stopped before a crooked 2-story wooden house. The paint peeled in chunks, and a faded sign reading, "Bless this home," swung on the front door. The yard was littered with empty bottles, chickens scratching the dry earth. And there, right in that filthy yard, was Alicia. My daughter was crouched low, her hands red and raw from the cold, scrubbing a portable commode and stained laundry from Big Mama. I froze in place. The same delicate hands I once wouldn't even let touch the dishes, now submerged in a bucket of filthy, freezing water. Alicia looked gaunt, her skin dull, the light gone from her eyes. When she saw me, her face flickered with fear instead of relief. She sprang up, wiping her hands against her jeans, her voice tight. "Mom, what are you doing here?" My chest tightened, and I pointed at the pile before her. "Alicia, is this what you call love?" She lowered her head, whispering softly, "Mom, please don't. They treat me very well here." A bitter laugh tore from my throat, choked with grief. "Well? Well enough to keep you here at Christmas like a servant? Well enough that you sold $1 million condo to bankroll their parties and church donations? Well enough that you scrub and labor day and night? That's your idea of well?" Alicia's face flushed and paled, her lips trembling, unable to respond. I stepped forward and seized her hands. They were ice cold, cracked, stiff like stone. Come home with me." She jerked back violently, shouting, "I'm not going home. This is my home now." At that moment, the front door creaked open. A middle-aged woman in a gaudy floral coat, cigarette dangling from her fingers, stepped out. Jamal's mother, Mama Louise. Her eyes swept me up and down before she forced a thin smile. "Oh, so you're the mother of my daughter-in-law? Why didn't you say you were coming? We didn't get a chance to prepare properly." Her tone was polite, but her eyes darted with calculation. Then she tilted her head, feigning warmth. "Well, come on in. Have a seat." They half-dragged, half-guided me inside the wooden house. And the moment I crossed the threshold, I was stunned. Inside was nothing like the shabby exterior. A brand-new flat-screen TV still smelled of fresh plastic. Glossy leather sofas lined the room, Bluetooth speakers scattered across polished shelves. It was obvious. The money from my daughter's $1 million condo had been poured right into this place. I sat down on the couch, the air thick with stale cigarette smoke. Jamal's father slouched in an armchair, a Bud Light in his left hand, tapping the wooden armrest with his right. Ash from his cigarette scattered across the cracked floorboards. Meanwhile, Alicia stood timidly behind Jamal, her shoulders quivering, eyes downcast. She looked like a hollow shadow of the girl I once knew. Jamal spread his arms like he owned the place, his voice brash and cocky. "Ma'am, you've met my parents now. Let's just get straight to the money, shall we?" I glanced at him, then at Alicia, still silent, still shrinking away. Taking a slow breath, I reached into my handbag and pulled out a set of bank documents, not stacks of cash. I placed them firmly on the table. $200,000. I've prepared it, but there are conditions. Instantly, Jamal and his parents' eyes lit up, gleaming like vultures spotting fresh meat. "What conditions?" Jamal leaned forward, his gaze locked on the folder. I stared straight into his eyes, my tone icy. "First, this money will not be given to anyone directly. It will be deposited into a separate account under Alicia's name, managed by the bank. Only Alicia can withdraw, and she must sign in person. Second, Alicia must come back to New York with me immediately. If later you two marry legally, she can return. But for now, she leaves with me. Third, I want to see proof of your marital status. A legal certificate. I need to be certain you've never been married before." The room fell into frozen silence. Jamal's face darkened, fury flickering in his eyes. Mama Louise dropped her fake smile, her lips curling into a sneer. "What's this supposed to mean, Mama Alicia? You don't trust my family? My son's a catch other girls would line up for him. If it weren't for Alicia's sincerity, we wouldn't even bother." She tilted her chin toward my daughter, her voice sharp with disdain. "And if the money's in Alicia's name, isn't it still going to Jamal anyway? They're practically married. Why make such a fuss?" Jamal's father slammed his beer bottle onto the table with a loud thud, smoke puffing from his nostrils. "Papers? What papers? You trying to insult us? And as for Alicia leaving with you, forget it. She walked into this house. She belongs to this house." He leaned back, but his eyes stayed glued to the bank folder. "Here's the deal. Leave the documents and the account info. The girl stays. Once the money's in, of course we'll treat her well." A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't a negotiation about marriage. This was human trafficking, plain and bare. I turned to Alicia, desperate for her to see the truth. "Alicia, did you hear that? To them, you're just a cash machine. Not family, not a future wife, just an ATM. Come home with me." She slowly lifted her head. Her eyes were hollow, lifeless. Her lips parted as if to speak. But the moment she glanced at Jamal, she dropped her gaze and shook her head. And in that instant, I knew my daughter had been completely manipulated. Jamal slung his arm possessively around Alicia's shoulders, flashing a syrupy smile, yet every word dripped with needles. "Ma'am, please don't blame Alicia. Don't blame my parents either. They just got a little heated, but in their hearts, they truly care for her." He put on the act of a peacemaker, but his voice was sharpened to cut straight through me. "You know, we really love each other. In my home, maybe we don't have much money, but everyone treats Alicia like a treasure." I let out a cold laugh. "A treasure? More like a free maid and a walking ATM." I locked eyes with him, my voice firm as steel. "What do you want, Jamal?" He sighed theatrically, feigning heartbreak. "Ma'am, Alicia and I are ready to get married. I just want to give her a grand wedding so she can be proud for life. But you've seen my family's situation. I have no other way. I just hope you'll lend us a hand." Then his tone shifted, sly and calculating. $200,000. Think of it as an investment. When I succeed, I'll repay you tenfold, 100-fold. I looked at him with disdain. "And if I refuse?" At once, the smile vanished from his face. His voice dropped, cold and sharp as a blade. "Ma'am, Alicia loves me very much. If you push too hard, I'm afraid she might do something foolish. And then, don't say I didn't warn you." He knew perfectly well Alicia was my only weakness. Jamal stepped back, leaving me face to face with my daughter. Alicia staggered toward me, clutching my sleeve with trembling hands. Tears streamed down her hollow cheeks. "Mom, please, help us. Jamal really has talent. He just needs one chance. With the money, we'll start a company, and then things will change. He'll buy a house, a car, and we'll repay you properly." Fina started. I stared at her face once, my greatest pride now dazed, desperate, begging like a hollow shell. My heart ached beyond words. I said nothing. I simply turned and walked out the door. Behind me, Alicia's scream tore through the shabby house, piercing and raw. "Mom, where are you going? Don't leave me. Don't you need me anymore?" Her cries echoed through the walls, wild and despairing. But this time I did not look back. That night, I returned to the hotel. I collapsed onto the bed, my body drained, yet sleep never came. My phone lit up again and again. A flood of messages poured in. From Alicia, filled with blame and tears. "Mom, how could you be so cruel? I'm your daughter. You just don't want me to be happy, right? You'll only be satisfied if you tear us apart." From Jamal, half sweet talk, half threat. "Ma'am, don't push this too far. It'll only hurt your bond with Alicia. Do you even know she hasn't eaten all day? Can you really bear that?" I stared at the screen, letting out a bitter laugh. I had raised her for 22 years, poured in every drop of my heart, and in less than a year, a few sugary lies from a man she barely knew had been enough to turn her against me. Near dawn, as I tossed and turned, my phone buzzed again, this time a bank notification. The supplemental credit card I had given Alicia, just in case, had been swiped. A $5,000 purchase at a luxury boutique downtown. The item, a men's Rolex watch. I stared at the alert for long minutes. The last flicker of hope I'd held that Alicia might still cling to reason, that she might remember my warnings, was extinguished. She had taken the money I gave her for emergencies and spent it on a flashy gift for Jamal, a man who did nothing but bleed her dry, penny by penny. I picked up the phone and called Marcus. My voice was calm, almost frighteningly so. "Marcus, do you remember the doctor we once asked about? Having another child? Call him back." On the other end, Marcus choked out, "Deborah, you really mean?" I cut him off, firm and final. "This big account is a total loss. I'm done funding it." As soon as I returned to New York, the first thing I did was shut down every supplemental credit card and account Alicia still had access to. My blood boiled. If I didn't cut it off now, Jamal would bleed us dry. Next, I picked up the phone and called a private investigator, an old family contact I trusted completely. I spoke only one sentence: dig to the root. I want everything on Jamal, past and present. That same day, I also called our family lawyer, John. The $1 million condo in Alicia's name, she sold it, and every cent went to her boyfriend. Is there any legal way to get it back? John sighed heavily. Deborah, legally, the condo was in Alicia's name. She had the right to sell it. Jamal received the money through romantic ties, so proving fraud will be nearly impossible. At best, it's a personal dispute. I hung up, my mind crystallizing around one thought. If I wanted justice, I'd need to use my own rules. A week later, the investigator's report landed in my inbox. When I opened it, I could hardly believe my eyes. Jamal was no poor young man with ambition, as Alicia believed. He was a professional con artist. From his first years in college, his pattern was clear: hunting down wealthy but naive young women. He dressed up in a bad boy image, laced it with sweet talk, and step by step, he seized their emotions, drained their money, then vanished. Alicia was not his first victim, and she would not be his last. The file contained photos of him with multiple women, white, black, all backgrounds. Among them, I recognized a familiar face. Vanessa, Alicia's old classmate, a daughter of a wealthy New Jersey family. But the most chilling discovery was this: Jamal wasn't acting alone. The investigator uncovered proof that he was part of an underground network, a PUA crew, a pack of men specializing in targeting wealthy young women, documenting their methods of emotional control to turn them into living ATMs. In the group chats the investigator retrieved, the men boasted openly. Sugar ATM number 1, coughed up 80,000 already. ATM number 2, Alicia, on track for 200,000, bet she'll close by year's end. Rich girls are easy, just sell them the rapper dream or a startup fantasy. My whole body went cold. In their eyes, my daughter, the child I had spoiled her whole life, was nothing more than an ATM. A girl who could cry, who could love, but could not wake up. Clutching the files so tightly that my knuckles bled, I ground my teeth until my jaw ached. Jamal, you turned my daughter into a wager? Then I'll make you pay with everything you have. I picked up the phone and called Alicia. The line rang for a long time before she finally answered. Her voice came through shaky, broken by sobs. Mom, you finally called me? Were you really going to abandon me? I swallowed my rage, softened my tone until I sounded like a weary, helpless mother. Alicia, I've thought a lot. You're my only daughter. I can't just leave you behind. The other end fell silent. I knew Jamal was right there too, listening closely to every word. So I dropped the bait. 200,000 in cash. I can't raise it fast enough. But I still have a commercial property in the heart of Manhattan. Prime location, worth at least $10 million. At once, I heard quickened breathing on the other side of the line. I can transfer ownership of that property to you, as your father and I's blessing for your marriage, so you and Jamal can build your future. But there are conditions. A long silence followed. Just as I expected, Jamal's voice suddenly cut in. What conditions? I smirked coldly, though my voice stayed sweet, almost soothing. Alicia has to come back to New York and go with me in person to our attorney's office in Midtown to complete the paperwork. And one more thing, she must cut off all ties with your family. No returning to Georgia, no further dealings with them. I pressed every word. It's either love in a crumbling shack or a new future with a $10 million Manhattan property. You choose. It was no surprise that Jamal didn't hesitate. His voice turned fawning, trembling with excitement. Bet. Don't worry, ma'am. Alicia will come right away. We'll listen to you. We won't go near those country folks again. I gave the final instruction, my voice ice cold. 3 days from now, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, at the attorney's office on Madison Avenue. Hanging up, I stood at the window. Outside, New York glowed in dazzling lights, and on my lips curved a thin smile. This game I had already set the board. 3 days later, I arrived at the law office on Madison Avenue well before the appointed time. At my side was John, our family attorney of over 15 years. That day he wore a modest gray suit, playing the role of my personal assistant. At exactly 2 o'clock, Alicia and Jamal walked in. Alicia was so thin her cheeks had sunk, but in her eyes flickered a greedy light mixed with eagerness. Jamal strutted in a cheap suit, a glaring red tie, his hair slicked with gel, trying hard to look like a startup CEO. The moment he saw me, his face broke into a wide grin. "Ma'am, you're early. We've been looking forward to this day." Alicia murmured softly. "Mom." I gave her only a curt nod, then turned to John. "Bring out the documents." John opened his briefcase and laid a thick stack of papers on the table. "This is a trust agreement. The commercial property, valued at $10 million, will be placed into an irrevocable trust, with Alicia as the sole beneficiary." The smile on Jamal's face faltered. "Wait. Conditions? What do you mean?" John adjusted his glasses, his tone calm but unyielding. "For the next 10 years, Alicia is prohibited from transferring or using any benefit from the property to support Jamal or his family. If she violates this, the trust is immediately void. The property will be clawed back into Mrs. Deborah's name, and Alicia will be liable for 30% of the asset's value in damages." Each sentence landed like a hammer blow. Jamal's face turned from red to gray, fury blazing in his eyes. "Ma'am, what is this supposed to mean? You don't believe in my love for Alicia? This is an insult." Alicia clutched the documents, unable to fully understand the clauses. All she saw was her name on the ownership papers. She turned to Jamal, her voice trembling. "Jamal, don't be angry. Mom just wants what's best for me." I looked at the two of them coldly. What I wanted was clear: to see if Jamal's honeyed manipulation could survive in the face of real wealth. Right on cue, Jamal turned his tactics on Alicia. "See? Your mom never trusted you. This isn't a gift, it's a leash. If she truly loved you, she'd hand over everything with no strings attached." Alicia hesitated, her lips trembling, doubt clouding her eyes. That was the moment I struck. My voice was low, heavy with disappointment. "Alicia, I'm doing this to protect you. I can't be by your side forever. If you think I'm wrong, then forget it. Pretend I never came today." I motioned for John to pack the documents away. "Don't," Alicia cried out, panicked. She grabbed the papers from John's hands. "Mom, I'll sign right now. In now death." Her hand shook as she scribbled her name without reading a word. Jamal stood frozen, his jaw twitching, his face ashen. When it was done, Alicia hugged the copy of the contract like a treasure. Jamal nearly dragged her out of the office, his eyes burning with rage, not daring to look back at me. John frowned, whispering as we gathered the papers, "Deborah, did you really just hand them 10 million? I gave him a thin, cold smile. "Don't worry. I never enter a battle without an escape route. To Jamal, this looks like a mountain of gold. To me, it's candy wrapped in poison. And from the receptionist to the security guards, everyone in this building today works for me." I closed the file with a sharp snap. This war had only just begun. Barely 2 days after leaving the law office, Jamal was already restless. A commercial property worth $10 million, listed under Alicia's name, yet he couldn't turn it into cash. To Jamal, it was like having a steak set before him. He could smell it, but never take a bite. He ran around frantically, trying to borrow against it, but every legitimate bank turned him down. The trust agreement was airtight. No one dared touch it. That was when Tony Fast Cash, a notorious loan shark in Harlem, appeared. He whispered in Jamal's ear, "The banks won't lend? I will. All you need is proof the property is yours. To do that, your girl has to sign a quitclaim deed first." Ambition flared in Jamal's eyes. If he could force Alicia to sign, he'd convert the property into instant money. And that was the exact trap I had laid. That afternoon, Jamal lured Alicia to a shabby café in Harlem. He carried a set of forged papers, his voice dripping with sugar. "Sign this, baby. It'll put both our names on the property. Show me you believe in us. Just one signature, and I'll take you to heaven." Alicia hesitated. Her hand shook, eyes fixed on the papers. Deep down, fear flickered, but she wavered. At that very moment, the café door burst open. A firm female voice rang out, "Don't sign, Alicia." Vanessa walked in. No longer the naive girl from before, she looked like a warrior. In her hands, she slammed down a thick folder. Across the table, spilled photographs Jamal wrapped around countless women. Alongside them, printed screenshots from the PUA group chat. "ATM number 2, Alicia, will close at 200,000 before year's end. Bet on it. She thinks I actually love her. Ha ha ha." The cafe went silent. Alicia's face turned ghostly pale. Her whole body shook. She stared at the lines of text, then at Jamal. In her eyes, her entire world was collapsing. Jamal snatched the folder, shouting, "Lies, all of it's fake." But Vanessa hadn't come alone. 3 other women stepped in behind her, each one a victim. Their eyes burned with fury. One spoke coldly, "Jamal, you thought we'd stay silent forever? The police already have the evidence. You're done." And right then, 2 officers entered the cafe. Jamal panicked, shoving Alicia aside to bolt for the door. But before he could escape, they slammed him to the ground, cuffing his wrists tight. The charges: organized fraud, large-scale financial exploitation. Sitting in a car parked down the street, I listened through a discreet earpiece. And as I watched Jamal dragged away in handcuffs, I closed my eyes and exhaled long and slow. This match, at last, had reached its turning point. Jamal and his PUA crew were all taken into custody. The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, every TV screen blared with the headline, "Wannabe rapper and PUA crew arrested in Harlem for defrauding wealthy women." Footage of Jamal head bowed, wrists cuffed, shoved into a police car replayed again and again across every channel. I sat before the screen, my emotions tangled. Relief, grief, exhaustion, yet I knew this was only the beginning. The police seized Jamal's phone and those of his accomplices. Inside, they uncovered the entire chat history, bragging about turning Alicia into ATM-2. Meanwhile, Vanessa and 3 other victims stepped forward to testify. The private investigator's file I had commissioned was also submitted. Piece by piece, the puzzle formed a clear picture. An organized fraud ring, siphoning off enormous sums of money. Jamal had no way out. Immediately, John, our lawyer, called me. "Deborah, good news. According to the trust agreement terms, Jamal's attempt to use Alicia to transfer the property counts as a breach. That automatically activates the clawback clause. Legally, the asset reverts to you." I calmly signed the recovery papers. Within 24 hours, the $10 million commercial property in Midtown Manhattan was once again mine. Every procedure was clean, airtight, and unchallengeable. But Alicia, she was summoned for questioning. Through the one-way glass, I saw her hunched over, head in her hands, her eyes hollow like someone lost in a nightmare. Only when the detectives pressed her did she mumble responses, as if jolted awake from a long, deluded dream. When she was finally escorted out, she caught sight of me in the hallway. Her eyes were bloodshot, her lips trembling. "Mom, was it you? Did you call the police?" I said nothing. I only met her gaze, my eyes cold as ice. Because I knew Alicia wasn't just a victim. She had chosen to play along. She had sold the $1 million condo, poured money into Jamal's family, defied us time after time, even threatening to cut us off. She wasn't simply deceived. She chose the lie. I turned away, leaving her behind in the custody of the officers. That night, standing by the window, Manhattan's skyline glowing outside, I felt something unexplainable, a hollow mix of sorrow and relief. Jamal was behind bars. The property was back in my hands. But Alicia, the battle for my daughter was far from over. The next morning, while Jamal sat in custody, awaiting trial, Alicia was released. She wasn't prosecuted with the PUA crew due to lack of direct evidence, but in the eyes of the police, she was nothing more than an enabler, a blind accomplice. Marcus and I waited outside the Manhattan precinct. The doors swung open. Alicia stepped out, disheveled, exhausted. Her hair was a mess, her eyes swollen, her lips cracked. But the way she looked at us held no remorse, only resentment. She screamed, her voice raw, "Mom, how could you do this? How could you call the police? Jamal is my man. They are my family." My chest hollowed out. "Alicia, do you really believe they're your family?" She choked back a sob, then lifted her chin defiantly. "Yes, they love me. You? You destroyed Jamal, and you destroyed me too. Who would want to be with a girl branded as the traitor of her fiancé? My life is ruined. Are you satisfied now?" Marcus stepped forward, his voice deep and heavy. "Your mother and I raised you for more than 20 years, not so you could feed a nest of parasites. We didn't ruin him. We saved you." A bitter laugh burst from her, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Save me? No, you killed my love. You killed my future." I stared at the daughter who had once been my pride, and felt only pain. "Fine. If that's what you believe, then this is where we end." I turned, tugging Marcus with me. But Alicia shrieked behind us, her voice desperate, deranged. "Stop. You can't just walk away. You owe me. $500,000? No, $1 million. No, $10 million? Give it to me. I need to leave this place and start over where no one knows me." In that instant, I laughed, a laugh soaked with tears. So this was the truth. In the end, she was no different from Jamal. What she truly wanted was money. I turned back, my voice calm as stone. Fine, I'll give it to you. Marcus's face drained of color. Deborah, you can't. 10 million. I pulled a checkbook from my bag. With a steady hand, I wrote $10 million USD. I signed it, then held it out to her. Here, take it, but from this day on, you, Alicia Brown, are no longer my daughter. This family is finished with you. Her hands shook as she snatched the check, clutching it like a treasure. Her face twisted with frenzied delight. She turned and walked away without looking back. Marcus' voice cracked, his eyes red. Deborah, did you really just give her 10 million? I shook my head, my voice cutting cold. Don't worry, it's a voided check. John already instructed the bank to block every transaction. That piece of paper is just a mirror forcing her to cut off the last illusion herself. If she craves money that much, then let her fall flat on her own greed. That very day, New York media erupted once more. Headlines blazed across newspapers, TV, and every corner of social media. Heiress aids boyfriend in fraud, demands $10 million from parents to start over. From princess in a castle to accomplice, the fall of Alicia Brown. On TikTok, Twitter, and Reddit, users mocked relentlessly. A living ATM. Better to have no daughter at all than one like this. I had handed the press everything. The video of Jamal forcing Alicia to scrub for Big Mama. The text messages where she demanded money from me. A copy of the $10 million check with her signature. Each piece of evidence slashed apart the public's image of Alicia as a dutiful princess. The day she carried the check into the bank, police who had been waiting swarmed in. Alicia screamed in horror, tears streaking her face. No, this is my money. My mom gave it to me. You can't arrest me. But the outcome had already been decided. At the preliminary hearing, the prosecutor read every piece of evidence aloud. The messages where Alicia demanded staggering sums. The luxury purchases she charged on the supplemental card for Jamal. The recording of her shouting, "My mother's money is mine too, isn't it?" Her defense attorney tried desperately. Alicia was just a young woman blinded by love, manipulated by a man. But the jury only needed to hear one of her threats to me. If you don't pay, are you planning to take the money to your grave? The courtroom fell into stunned silence. In the end, the judge delivered the sentence. 5 years in prison for attempted extortion and financial fraud. I sat in the courtroom, my fists clenched tight, unable to shed a single tear. Beside me, Marcus squeezed my shoulder, whispering, "Deborah, it's over now." But in my heart, there was no triumph. Only an abyss, because it was by my own hand that my only daughter was sent to prison. Leaving the courthouse that day, Marcus drove in silence, the weight in the car pressed down like stone. I turned to him, noticing every deep line carved into his weary face. The once strong man beside me now looked drained, as if the last of his strength had been stolen. Back home, Marcus finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "Deborah, did we really have to do this? She's still our daughter." I stood before the window, watching the skyscrapers of New York glow under the night. My words came quiet but resolute. "Yes, she is our daughter, but a daughter like that, we no longer need." Marcus froze. I turned back, tears streaking my cheeks though my voice stayed firm. "Do you know where we went wrong? We thought giving her the best material things was enough to count as love. But we forgot what mattered most, teaching her right from wrong, teaching her how to protect herself, teaching her what healthy love truly is." "Oh." Marcus buried his face in his hands, his voice breaking. "Deborah, have we failed completely?" I walked over and slipped a folded document into his trembling hands. On the corner, bold letters read, "IVF candidate, high success rate." Marcus's hands shook violently, his eyes turned red. You really want to?" I nodded, choking back my sobs. "Yes, we'll start over. If God has closed this door, then we will open another one ourselves." Marcus pulled me into his arms, his body trembling, his voice ragged. Deborah, you've suffered so much. I rested against his chest, whispering through tears. No, this isn't suffering. It's the only choice left, if we're to have a future at all. And so, amidst wounds that still bled, we made a daring choice to begin the IVF journey, to bring a new child into the world. Not to replace Alicia, but to save ourselves from despair, to give us a reason to keep living, to prove that family didn't have to end in ashes. 5 years passed. Slowly, Marcus and I built a new rhythm to our lives. Our little boy, the miracle of the IVF journey, was now 4 years old. We named him Ethan Marcus Brown. Bright-eyed, strong, brimming with energy, he carried a light we thought we'd lost forever. For his sake, we sold the Manhattan apartment and moved into a house in suburban New Jersey, a wide yard with rose bushes and maple trees. Marcus expanded his business, thriving more than ever, and I dedicated myself fully to raising Ethan, instilling in him the values I had once neglected with Alicia. The name Alicia was rarely spoken. She became like a ghost, fading into the past. Until one October afternoon, the phone rang, a dry, official voice on the other end. "Hello, is this Mrs. Deborah Brown? Your daughter, Alicia Brown, has been released today." My hands trembled, my heart squeezed tight. The day I had dreaded and expected had finally come. That evening, Ethan and I were stacking toy bricks in the yard when the doorbell chimed. I glanced at the Ring camera monitor. A familiar figure stood in the rain. Alicia. She wore a faded hoodie, frayed jeans. Her hair was cropped short, her face gaunt and hardened. Prison had carved scars that could not be erased. She didn't press the bell again, didn't call. She simply stood under the porch roof, still as a shadow, lost. Ethan tugged at my sleeve, his wide, innocent eyes fixed on the screen. "Mommy, who's that?" I swallowed hard, smoothing his hair. "Just someone I used to know." We didn't open the door. Marcus glanced at the camera feed, then sighed heavily. "She's still out there." Later, as we set the table, the skies opened. Rain poured in heavy sheets, drumming against the roof and soaking the porch. I sat frozen before my untouched plate, my heart twisted in turmoil. Ethan, after finishing his dinner, gently tugged at my hand. His little voice was soft, but it pierced me deeper than any scream. "Mommy, she's still out there in the rain. She'll get sick." And with those innocent words, my heart cracked wide open. Ethan's innocent plea pierced straight through my chest. I sighed, grabbed an umbrella, and stepped into the cold downpour. Alicia stood drenched, rain mingling with tears that streamed down her hollow cheeks. Her voice broke as she whispered, "Mum." That one word alone made my eyes sting red. I held the umbrella over her trembling body. "Come inside." Silently, she followed me in. Marcus said nothing, only handed her dry clothes. I poured a steaming cup of ginger tea and set it before her. Her hands shook as she cradled the cup. Ethan sat nearby, staring at this stranger sister who had suddenly entered our home. Then, without warning, Alicia collapsed to her knees before us. The thud of her knees striking the floor echoed through the quiet house. "Dad, Mom, I'm sorry." She bowed low, pressing her forehead to the floor once, twice, 3 times. Each strike splintered my heart a little more. I know, no apology can erase the past, but these 5 years I've thought of nothing else. I was wrong. I was blind. I was unforgivable. Today, I just needed to say sorry, then I'll go. She rose unsteadily, turning toward the door. My throat tightened. "Where will you go?" She froze, her back stiff, before answering in a fragile voice. "I've found a dishwashing job at a small diner. They'll give me meals and a place to sleep. I'll work honestly. And someday, I'll repay every cent you lost because of me." I stared at the frail figure before me. No longer the arrogant, selfish girl of the past, but a weary soul clutching at a fragile will to start over. Suddenly, Marcus spoke, his voice steady and commanding. "Stay." Both Alicia and I turned, stunned. It continued, eyes unwavering. "There's a spare room here. Ethan needs a sister. And you need a roof to start again. Stay." Tears burst from Alicia's eyes. She collapsed again, sobbing. Ethan scampered closer, tugging my sleeve. "Mommy, will she live with us now?" I squeezed his hand, looked at Alicia, then at Marcus, and finally nodded. From that day on, a new chapter began for our family. Alicia stayed. She never mentioned Jamal again. She worked diligently, setting aside part of her wages as household contribution. She laughed and played with Ethan, caring for him like a real sister. Marcus and I could not forgive her overnight. But slowly, we stopped seeing her as a ruined account to be written off. Instead, we began to see her as someone returned from the abyss. As for forgiveness, it would take time, perhaps a very long time. But at least, a faint light flickered again in the darkness. And for the first time in years, I dared to believe our family might still have a future.